like the World Show is right now. It's in Argentina. So you can go to the AMDA magazine. It's out right now. I've got 2 pages of ads in it. We're paired up with Lacocha, and they're doing a bench show. And so the dogs down there are going through a bench show and they're going through a hunting tournament, and they have to do good at both. It's not just one. It's if they're going to be world champions, they're going to be this and other. They have to be beautiful. They have to have the correct social skills. They will put them in environments, and the judges will they'll monitor them walking through with children. They'll walk through the stables with the horses, the cows, and the ducks and the chickens. I mean, I had a lady this morning on Facebook. She sent me a picture of 2 dogos of mine in her house, and it's watching a pen of little chickens, and there's a chicken sitting on the dog's back. And you can go to my Facebook page right now. And I said, Miss Jane, is that a chicken on that dog's back? And so they have to be able to do that. And then they'll take those same dogs to the field and say, now turn it on and show me what you got. And they hunt in packs of 10 and they go out horseback and they have to go out there and find those hogs and catch them. And so that is that's everything that we've talked about this morning, from behavior to working full circle. If they're going to succeed on a worldwide standard, I'm not able to go to the world show. I'm sitting here in my house, but I've been talking with all the guys this morning, wishing them good luck and different things. And I've sent them a lot of messages, but they're in show right now. But if we hunt from sun up to sundown, they swim rivers, they scale mountains, they risk their lives. They're war smooth out. They cannot lift their head up when they're done. They love it, love it, love it. The harder the work is, the more they like it. And I feed them, and I do not have to beg them to go the next day. They are begging me to go again the next day. So that's the kind of dogs that you want. What I like to do with my dogs is I want to know that they can operate in every condition. Some dogs get used to operating in one condition and then they freeze up when they see a different condition. And that's just because they need to be exposed to it more. It doesn't mean always that they won't do it, but the more you expose a dog to anything, and I call it the laws of exposure with dogs. And I want to expose them to every single thing that I can, and they will be better for it. And so in Arkansas, where I live in North Arkansas, we're in the foothills of the Ozark Mountains. The mountains are bluffs, they're rocky, it's very steep, it's very hard to navigate, it's very hard on the dog's feet and joints because they're going up and down all day long. And you can really see what a dog is made out of as far as how well he's built, because it will make your ankles and your knees and your back sore to navigate that country. It is rough. Nothing is soft. It's all rocks and it's all straight up and it's all straight down. So um, that's where I live, and so that's where we start our training. When we go down south, where we do most of our hunting, it's all flat and it is soft, but there's water everywhere. So up in the mountains, it's strong rivers and strong running creeks. Down south, it's stagnant water and mud and briars. And so it's two different types of terrain. And everybody always says, man, my terrain here in Texas, it's the worst. Oh, well, it's bad. Anybody that's ever been in the black brush down there and the cactuses and the rattlesnakes, and it's hot, it is awful. So if you've ever been to Florida and seen a palmetto thicket, and it is so thick you can't see your feet, and there's a snake and a croc or an alligator every 2 feet in there. My buddies in Florida, they're like, man, I ain't coming up there. We might run across a cougar or a bear. And I was like, man, that ain't near as bad as a alligator swimming next to you in a ditch. And so everybody in Louisiana to Georgia, Mississippi, we're all the same. So, man, you ain't seen anything. You've seen the briars down here. And so everywhere these hogs are at are the worst conditions in that state. And they're all bad. They are all bad. And in Arkansas, we have got a very weird mixture. So, Florida, they'll be running water lines through their kennels. I'm like, I wish I could do that. It would freeze and bust here. It's just out in the open, the PVC. I'm like, man, that'd be great if I had that. Up north, they're like, it'd be nice to have a couple of warm days. Arkansas is super weird because it'll get over 100 many, many days of that humidity in the summertime, and we get a taste of what that Louisiana humidity and Florida humidity is like. It would not as much as them, but for about 2 months out of the year, we'll get it. And then it'll also get a cold wet, and it'll get down below freezing. And so the last few years, we've had some bad storms and busted a lot of pipes around here. Inside houses, busted pipes, gets down into the negatives for the wind chill at nighttime. And so we see some bad cold weather. Not as much, mind you, as up north, but we do get the taste of that. So Arkansas, we get a little bit of all of it here, and that allows us to train our dogs in virtually every type of environment. And so plus with all the travel I do, I'll just haul them to a place that we've never hunted before, just so they'll have that just have that experience. And it's amazing the dogs that hunt in certain types of terrain. I mean, you watch a true Texas dog, and this is no lie, that's born and raised on the border down there in Mexico and South Texas. I've watched them run hogs and stop midstream, turn their paws over, and take their front teeth and pull cactuses out of their paws and keep going. They know how to navigate that terrain. And the boys in Florida, to the cougar hounds up in Idaho, to the guys that hunt bear out on the East Coast, all those dogs know that terrain really well. And it's all bad. It's it is bad to walk through a southern swamp with every step the mud sinks up to your knee and your foot gets stuck and you're pulling your boots out and you get fatigued and you fall in a beaver run and it goes over your head, and now you're sweating, you think you're going to have a heat stroke, and you think now I've got to continue to walk to get out of this slough. And if those dogs will lay down and stop, they don't make it. The dogs that get in the middle of those environments, if they lay down and say, I can't go any further, you either have to A, carry them out, or B, they don't make it. That's the only two options. And I've had to carry some puppies out. I'm willing to do that, but the goal is to breed those. You don't have to have help. If they're not injured, you need to get up and walk. And the terrain in all of these different places is bad enough, it'll make the weakest of the dogs say, I don't want to do this anymore. And those don't get bred anymore. So it's tough. And Arkansas has a little bit of all of that. I told a story, and by the way, I'm starting to tell some of my craziest stories on YouTube now. We released one hunting story. It'll blow your mind. You have to go listen to it. But it was about a cold day in the mountains, and I've got many up ahead. And I may have told you this last time. Forgive me, but I was hunting by myself last year, and we were in an old flooded duck hole, and all the timber died and fell over. What happens in the South is the timber falls over, the sunlight comes in, and the silt out of the Mississippi River floods it. That's the best synthetic. It's the best fertilizer, better than any synthetic fertilizer on the planet. The briars grow up 6 to 10 feet tall, thick as nails, and it grows up over the top of these dead trees and tops. And there was a couple of 100 acres like that, and there was an uncountable amount of hogs in that patch. And I would have to wade the briars, no trails, jump over logs, crawl underneath logs, and we did that for about 8 hours one day. And I was all by myself. I was completely exhausted. I'd fallen many times. We caught hog after hog after hog, and I think I'd killed like 12 or 14. And I had all of my dogs caught and put up, because if you don't put them up, they're going to hunt until they can't. They like it as much as me. And I had three curs out, and I was resting my dogos, and the three curs had one more boar bayed, and he was in there at about 500 yards, and I had already been in there 10 times, walking in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out. And I drank all the water that I'd had, and I looked at my dogos, and they were exhausted. And I said, guys, we got to go in there and catch one more so we can get Crook and Lily out of there, because they're not leaving until we come. And if they're committed and they're not leaving till I come, we're going to be committed, and we're going to go, and we're going to help them. And of course, I'm talking to them like that, and so I unsnap the dogs. I'm not leading them. I'm not making them go. And That's part of the thing about social media. You're a mean taskmaster. I'm not making them do anything. They love it. So I start walking in there to this bay. Here comes Z and Cochetta, and they're walking right behind me. And I'm talking to them one more time, one more time, one more time. And we get in there close enough, and I start hissing them. And they go in there and catch that bad boar. And I stab him. I cut his heart out. And then my three cur dogs just lay down. My two dogos lay down. And I sit down, and I'm videoing it. And we lay there about 5 minutes. So we had to. We couldn't move. And so I started telling them, I said, if we lay here anymore, we're going to get stove up. The longer we sit here, the harder it's going to be. I said, we've got to go back to the buggy. We're in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. I have no cell phone reception. My wife has no idea where I'm at. Nobody knows. We have got to go back to the buggy right now before it gets dark. So I start getting up and walking. Let's go. Vámonos, hey, ándale, ándale. And I start talking to them and I start hissing them one by one. They start getting up and they want, come on, Z, you can do it. Come on. And then I walk in there and I walk back and I talk to them, come on, let's go, let's go. And I'll stand them up and I rally and they all get up and they start walking back and they all walk out behind me and we go home at nighttime. And that's the camaraderie that I enjoy. And if they go, I go. And those conditions are so hard in there. Most people, it's like the guy that's training indoors. You don't know what you don't know. And I had a guy tell me one time, I don't mind to go hunting. Everybody says this, I don't mind to go hunting. I'll walk in there, and they go with me one time and say, there ain't no way I'm going in there and I'm going that far. And it's just it's the Wild West where those hogs are at. And so to answer your question, there's a little bit about the terrain, how physically demanding it is. So then the dogs, we get back to the buggy. I unvest everybody. I might have lit a cigar that day. I don't know. But I turn on the music. I go back. They eat fresh hog fat and bacon. I feed them heavy. And they're laying around. And I go and check on them after supper. And I walk out there and I say, bye, bee, bye, bee. And you'll see that tail and they're laying on the ground, that little tail just going back and forth, and they raise their head up and grin at me, and they lay it right back down. They love it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're bred to do it. It's exciting to see that when they accomplish something and they know it, and that you as their master are fulfilled by their performance. Yeah, they could tell. I like that about working dogs. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about Argentina and that terrain, and have you gone on any hunts? I'm sure you have, but have you done any hunts out there? And what was that like?
So Argentina is halfway around the planet south. Once you get down there to where La Cocha is, you're closer to Antarctica than you are here. And the terrain down there, I compare it to something like what you would think about Africa, just never ending. The thing about America is we've got a lot of remote places, but at some point in time, Um, you may have to walk. You may have to walk 60, 80 miles, but at some point in time, there'll be another road somewhere. You can walk 60, 80 miles. You can walk 600 miles down there. The terrain is just vast, and there's no roads to where you're hunting. And so, I did what was called a on our YouTube. It was the first thing that we released. When we started our social media stuff a couple months ago, back in the summer, and it was the Origin series on Dogo Argentinos, and we were showing people what it's like in Argentina. And there's not a lot of trees in the grasslands in the Patagonia, and right north of there where we were hunting, there's still not a lot of trees, and there's chunk rocks everywhere. And the only thing that's out there are hogs and pumas and buffaloes and an uncountable amount of birds. And so when you're driving around um, out there, you'll see a big nest of parrots, like and parakeets, like we sell in our pet stores over here, hundreds and thousands in every tree. And they're like, please shoot all of them that you can. They're such a nuisance. It'd be like another country wanting to adopt our squirrels as pets. It'd just be like, it doesn't even register to us that these things are phenomenally, attractive. But when you go to Argentina, the country is so vast, very little cell reception anywhere around, and it's horseback or walking. Because if you have a buggy or things like that, you can't navigate it because all the chunk rocks laying out in the field and they're all covered with grass. And so about the time you start driving and feel comfortable, you'll hit one and tear your stuff up. So it was horseback and buggies. Guys, I apologize. I'm going to take this sweatshirt off. This sunlight is coming in my window. I mean, I am burning up in this sweatshirt. I was outside this morning doing around because we had a couple puppies leave. They went to Michigan. Uh, Now sitting in front of this window, I am just burning up. But that's what it's like in Argentina. So it's opposite of here. So we're going into winter, they're going into summer. It's it's halfway around the world south, so they're complete opposite. So Christmas down there, middle of the summer. So the best time to go to Argentina if you want good weather for hunting, you've got to go in the summertime. Late spring, like when summer is ending, going into fall, and the hottest parts of the summer is when you want to go over there to catch the best weather. So this year when we were over there, it was down in the 30s at nighttime. No central heat and air, by the way, where we were staying. Very poor country. Very just got done with the communist rule. And it's very very poor. We won't get into any politics, but now it is. They are poor, 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 and there's no reason to be because they have tons of resources there. And I think it might change in the future with their new president. But as you're out there at those camps, there's no central heat and air and things like that. It's just you put wood in the fire if you want to stay warm at night and not freeze to death. And lots of the guys have sleeping bags. Some are sleeping underneath buffalo hides that they have killed, and they catch them with their dogos, and we knife them. Catch buffalo down there, and that's as dangerous as you could possibly imagine. But doing it the old-fashioned way, as it's such an adrenaline rush, and to see a dog that's that capable, that can jump on a buffalo and hold it while you put a sword in it, people say you're either crazy or you're a liar or both. No, it's real, and we've got plenty of proof to document that. But anyway, it gets super cold at night. They got their own little stoves in each bedroom, and if you want to shower, which we took one about every 3 days when we were down there out in the woods, my wife was not very proud of that, and I said, "Well, here's what you don't realize: if you wanted a warm shower, you filled up this tank and built a fire underneath it, and it took it several hours, and it finally got the water up warm enough, and this gravity fed pipe just let it trickle over your head, and you kind of rinsed off the glaze you had on you, and then you went again hunting the next day. And so it's it's the wilderness out there, and it's a true safari. You go missing out there, nobody ever finds you, nobody, and it it's so remote. And whenever you look across that terrain, and you're thinking, there's nothing that direction for miles and miles and miles. And we hunt some farms in Arkansas and around the world in the United States that are 10, 20, 30,000 acres. You go up to the Palo Duro Canyon in Oklahoma, 60,000 acres. These are huge tracts of land. In Argentina, it's just incomparable vastness to what we're used to with no access.
That's weird because I've never thought about that, but I can see, like you said, it's not an overly developed country like we think of a developed country.
Oh, no,
And what's
no.
interesting, yeah, not to get into politics, but you're right. Argentina used to be one of the wealthiest nations in the world, and they have that ability too. So that's another interesting fact that there's no, like you said, there's no reason for their their struggles. But
No.
no, but that's interesting to hear. Like you said, I'd never thought about that, but now I'm going to pay attention to just how vast that is. Was that ever nerve wracking when you're out there? Like, God, are we going to find our way out?
you know, Me and my sons, we enjoyed it. My oldest son went with me. He turned 19 down there, and my youngest son was 12. And then our camera guy went with us. And me and my boys were totally fine. Our camera guy was a little nervous because, he's done a lot of professional fishing stuff, and he's just now getting in the outdoors, and he'll watch this, he'll appreciate this. But whenever he first started hog hunting with us, he was like, "This is crazy." He's like, "I would never even," and I said, "Would you be willing to film us in Argentina?" And when I saw that he was willing to go out with Argentina with us, we found the right guy. I mean, if he'll go and do this with us and trust me out here, because you might die. You say he says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "We're going to go and we're going to track down a herd of wild buffalo and we're going to catch them with dogs and knife them." He's like, "Are you out of your mind?" I was like, "Yeah, and you got to video it. We're going to catch hogs and we're going to do this and we're going to, if a mountain lion crosses our path, so be it. We're going to go horseback deep into the brush. We're going to walk the rest of the way." And so, yeah, it's dangerous. I was never scared. I was never. I feel at home, in those moments. I guess it's like a professional basketball player, like LeBron James in the big game. He gets keener on his focus, or Michael Jordan. And when I'm in those types of environments, I have a tendency to thrive better because I am a lot more focused than I am driving my truck down the highway and 6 feet from death every time I pass somebody. And out there, I'm really focused. So no, I was never scared at all. Plus, we have an army of dogos with us, and I mean, look, they're so capable. I mean, Lord help whatever wanted to mess with us and come in our camp at nighttime, they would have their short end of the stick. But it's a wild country.
How does a young man from the foothills of the Ozarks in Arkansas learn Spanish as well as you do? You speak it.
Well, ya lo tengo dos y tres mexicanos trabajar conmigo todos los días. And I got, started off with 2 or 3 Mexican guys that will work with me every day. And necessity is the mother of invention. And it's different if you're just trying to learn a word. And if you speak Spanish and I speak English and we have to communicate for something. And then talking to the guys in Argentina over the last 15 years or whatever it's been, um, that just helps brush it up. And so the Mexican guys and the Guatemala guys that I know and that work for me and I have around here that are good with the dogs, and I talk to them, and um, that's how that's how it worked out. We're constantly translating stuff. I met with Lacocha at Dallas 2 weeks ago, and we filmed actually the enunciation of the book of the Dogo that's coming out in 2025. And we're going to release that video after the World Show, and it's coming from the creator of the breed, and he's talking in Spanish, but I'm translating there, and so that stuff like that helps. And I even wrote a chapter in that book that people can go and read, and I'm talking about dogo specifically, but every now and then I'm going to say something about just dog behavior in general. Things that we can talk about and learn. Just that pack mentality and how to start your puppies off with the older dogs outside. But you have to have those dogs that still have those genetics instilled in them. They're gonna, a dog that's born and raised inside the house, he's going to have a certain amount of that. He'll teach it. And then the instincts of that dog, that's how you can keep that alive in there. And all you guys that have kennels, y'all can start practicing that. And go through that. So I'll mention a few things like that in articles and in the book, but little things of keeping up with Spanish just because the projects we have going on with Argentina. Did I mention the World Show is right now? Have we talked about that?
A little bit.
Yeah, we've talked.
Talk. Yeah. Go ahead and expand if you want about what all that entails.
Well, we put, my wife is listening to the podcast. She goes, "Yes, you've already mentioned that. Sorry, honey." But I just get to talking about dogs, and I mean, you could totally ask me another question. I just go off talking about that, but we put 2 ads in there, and one's in English and one is in Spanish, and it's for everybody to read. And so I'm making ads, and different things. And so I actually posted that on my Facebook. You can go in there and see the ads we put in there. Some are in Spanish and some are in English, and that goes along with Spanish has just become a part of what I do with the dogs, and that helps me keep brushed up on it.
Right. Is there a part of the world that you would love to go hunting with your dogs with that you haven't yet?
So we have not talked to many people about this, but We are heavily researching different farms in Africa that we want to take our dogs down there and catch as many things as possible. But shipping the dogs down there is going to be a real problem as far as money and logistics and laws, because it's getting harder and harder to get dogs in and out. And we want to bring our own dogs, you know. We want to track down this game and do something like that. I mean, I could take my rifle out there and I could whack a gazelle at 500 yards, but that's not going to make any difference to me. So it's super expensive to take as many dogs as we're needing down there. So we've been researching that for the past year, not every day, but it's on the table and we slowly push it along. And I've got several opportunities. We just got to find a time and make it happen. And that's something that Lakocha and I want to do together and film it and show, you know, more game the dogs have never seen. They can go run down and apprehend.
Has there been a maybe a TV production company that has talked to you about it? You can get that some funding, or
You know, as time goes on, that's it, the Lord's blessing us with that. Maybe we can. So far, everything because you know I just started social media a couple months ago, so I funded everything. We now have had people come on board and started. You know, those conversations have started. I just always did it because I loved it, and like I don't want any help from anybody. I'm just going to do it because I love it. And I finally started. It's like okay, there's some benefits to showing people what we do. You know, because dogs was always my passion. This is what I do. You know, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just this is Brad living the life he wants to live, and that might be a possibility in the future. And we have a good enough camera crew now. And the videos that we're going to put out, we just recently bought a whole new camera setup. It's as good as you'll see on the outdoor channel. And we've got a very good editor. And so when we start filming again in January, there's going to be some really cool stuff that's coming out. We've got all kinds of drones, dog harnesses, very expensive cameras. We got some good quality stuff that we're doing. And if somebody will get on board, and I got some good friends too. They're pretty wealthy. I may hit them up for about 100,000 and see if they want to go in. And but we need to figure out a costly way to get a lot of dogs there. And so that's the obstacle we're running to right now.
yeah, that'd be so cool. If there's a will, there's a way. I think,
Yeah.
and definitely just from I don't know if you remember, but I remember telling you, I said you got something here, and that was with 900 subscribers or whatever.
Yeah.
I knew from the get go that you guys are gonna go places. So
Well,
uh,
I appreciate you reaching out to me. You know, you were the first person that reached out to me. We started our YouTube page and we had it up for about a month and you called me and I was like, "Oh, sweet. You know, I got somebody that wants to talk about it." And so since then it's been going crazy. And so like I posted a video last night on Facebook. I mean, I've got a drove of videos like this on my phone. It's just me unvesting a dog. It's got 1 million views this morning on Facebook. And so I'm grateful for that. Um, you know, the Lord He's blessing us. And I like doing things like this because if I can share the things that I have learned over generations of generations, you know, as my grandpa used to tell me something real important, it might have taken him 50 years to learn this one little thing. And when he gives me those little golden nuggets of wisdom like that, he would say, people got to pay for information like that. And I've been taught a lot of really cool things about dogs over the years. So if I can pass that along, guys, I just appreciate y'all watching and being um, uh, willing to listen to some of the boring details and stories that I got.
yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm just as fascinated with this format as I am with the dogs. You know what I mean? I think that's what keeps me motivated to continue to do this sort of thing. It's just as much about this than it is the dogs. I'm not fancy with it. I'm still learning, and it's still evolving. But um, for me, information is the new currency in a lot of ways.
It is.
We've lost a lot of people who are actually going out and doing the things that you're doing, and so when that it's kind of a dying breed. So when there is somebody out there doing it, uh, the monetary thing behind it is you sharing that information and bringing people to the fold that will go out and try it and do it and keep the traditions alive in that sort of way. So that's how I see this platform. For all the negatives that it can bring, that's the positives, not only business wise, but for to keep dying traditions alive.
Yeah, and people question, I try to answer as many people as I can. People say, hey, is this, just send me pictures on social media. Hey, is this a dogo? Or hey, what do I do? One guy was like, my dog's about to have a C-section. What are some do's and don'ts? I'm like, well, okay, here, calm down. Everything's going to be fine. And I'm able, and this is just a dog breeder. He's fine, great. Just raising dogs. I love it. And he's like, hey, what do I do in this certain situation? I was like, you just need to watch out for this, that, and the other. You'll be fine. Everything's cool. And I love just talking, to folks like that, or anybody on the, when I started the podcast, I said, I don't care if you own a dogo. I don't care if you hunt or you just love dogs. I said, there's going to be some things I'd pass along for everybody. You'll pick up little things about dogs, and there's a ton of things like we could discuss, like common myths about dogs, like why does a dog eat grass? Or why do they lick you in the face? Or why do they do this? Like all kinds of behavioral things that people are just so misinformed on, or they think the wrong things. What is that dog actually saying and doing and communicating to you when they're doing different things that they do? And maybe that we have a next time and we answer a few of those questions, because I know we're getting about an hour and I'm about to have to jump off here right now. But, I just love talking about, maybe it's just dogs in general next time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can talk about some husbandry and what it's like to run a breeding kennel and what it takes and some of the finer points with that for sure. Any direction you want to go, I'm willing to go. Sometimes I like, the stories that you told today were fantastic. That's the kind of stuff that keeps me going doing this, and I love hearing about those interesting stories about their going out there and hunting in vast wastelands that I would never find myself in. Uh,
Well,
while I'm warm in bed, I'm enjoying watching it. You going out there busting your
yeah.
ass doing it. So that's how I live vicariously through people like you.
Well, and likewise, y'all are the reason that, I keep on going and telling the stories, and tell all your subscribers today. Thank you so much. I don't know them all, but they mean the world to me just by their comments today. And to go to YouTube, and I have one video out. It's called Loyalty to the End. Get on there and comment. And the more attention that particular segment of our YouTube page goes, I'm going to make some more. And I've got another one coming out Wednesday, I think at noon. And the stories, I tell some wild ones you haven't heard anything yet. They'll blow you away.
Sounds good, man. And we'll do this again soon.
All right, Sean.
All
Thanks,
right,
brother.
good. All right. Have fun.
All right, bye bye.
Bye bye.